Hey, welcome back to the Board Game Closet. My name's Jimmy.
I'm Tim.
I'm Rod.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Level 7 Omega Protocol. Tim, why don't you start us out with the instructions?
All right. So the instructions for the game, for one, come in two separate booklets. One's the actual instruction booklet, and the other's the mission guide, which is always nice because as soon as you see the mission guide, game is going to be driven by scenarios and stuff and special story setups. In the instruction booklet, you see everything is laid out really nice. They do this thing that I love. If you watch any of the videos, you've heard me mention it, where anytime they mention a rule or something or an action or something, they show an actual, like the pictures of it happening, so you get an idea of it instead of just words and words and words. And everything has got icons and stuff by it, so you'll know exactly what's got to happen. I only had to reference this book, a couple times because everything is pretty much laid out for you on the cards and on like the dashboard. So most everything has the rules for it and what's going to happen with it there on it. So as far as learning, it took a little bit just to set up and to get an idea of everything. But once you play a couple turns or whatever, you'll have the game down, and you'll only have to reference the rule book a couple times. But they keep everything nice and organized, and they have an index on the back. So if you kept it on the reference sheet side, is this even called reference sheet? Well, that's what I call it. It's the reference sheet side. Then you actually see everything that you'll need for the game, and you'll be able to get to it real quick by the index. So as far as instructions goes, it was well done, well laid out.
All right, Rod, do you want to tell us about the components?
Sure. So, as you guys can see, it comes with a lot of pieces. The artwork itself, so let's start off with the high stuff. The artwork is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's got some nice artwork. The miniatures, when it comes to each individual guy, you can identify them by just the way they look. Mm-hmm. And again, like we were saying, the artwork on the cards is really nice. From there, it kind of goes a little bit downhill. I mean, the dice are good sized dice.
They're specialized too, so they have their own little blast markers and stuff on them.
Problems that I have with it are like the miniatures, first of all, and Jimmy will kind of be able to give you more on this part, but like the bases are pretty thin and stuff, and I guess when they came in, they were pretty warped. The card stock they're using seems to, I want to say, warp easy, because we're seeing that with some of them right now. The actual card for each individual guy is pretty, like we just did a game previous to this one, and I mean the card stock had to be 10 times thicker than this when it came to a piece like this. So I see some problems with that area of it, and then with also my understanding the price point is pretty high. So with all that, I'm not real happy with what you're getting.
Now, this, out of all the games I've ever punched, you get them in the mail, and I love to unbox and punch and bag everything. Like, it took me forever to go through. I mean, there was a stack of cardboard that I had to go through that was so thick, and all these pieces. So I got super excited when I started punching stuff, because I'm like, this is amazing. There's so much stuff, but it's almost like they wanted to do so much that they had to cut so many corners to make it happen. Like these miniatures, when I got them in the box, I mean, terribly warped, and I had to fire up the stove, and I was going to the YouTube and trying to find out how do you fix warped miniatures, because I didn't necessarily want to send it back. I was hoping I could salvage it, and so I had to dunk all these in boiling water and then sit them on the counter, and I had to do that 2 or 3 times on some of these to get them usable, and mainly the bigger ones, but there was a few of these guys that were bent all the way over, and it was almost unusable. Well, let's talk about how Level 7 actually plays. At the beginning of the game, you're going to pick who's going to be the commandos and who is going to be the overseer, or the bad guy, or the misunderstood guy.
Evil, Dr. Evil.
Evil guy. And so the overseer is going to control all of the aliens, and then the commandos get to team up together to try to win the game by destroying the aliens or winning the objective to complete the scenario, whatever it is. So the commandos are going to get some cards that tell them a few things about their player, and it gives stats on the cards. And then they're going to get stance cards that have to do with how fast you can move, the range of your melee weapons or your ranged weapons. And then it also tells you an important feature is the maximum amount of adrenaline that you can spend on a turn. We'll tell you about that in a second. The Overseer is going to have a pool of choices that he can do, and he's going to have kind of like
It's a
a dashboard here that tell what he can do during the game. And so each one of these has a cost to them, and he's going to be able to pay the cost of these based off of the amount of adrenaline that we use on our turn. So it's a give and take. So if we do more, then he can do more. So each thing that you do in the game, such as moving or shooting or using cards or whatever it is, it has a cost to it, and that's paid with adrenaline. So on your turn, you're actually going to say, okay, I'm going to spend 3 adrenaline, and I'm going to move, or I'm going to shoot or whatever, and you put those on your card. And then at the beginning of the turn phase, you're going to transfer all of that adrenaline and give it to the Overseer, and then that's now what he uses to do his terrible, awful things. And so kind of one of the neat aspects of this game is there's a lot of kit cards, and so you get to customize your player. And so at the beginning of the game, you'll have a pool of cards that you get to choose from, and you'll say, okay, I'm going to use these 3 cards, and you get to spend a certain amount of points to build your player, and so that's kind of cool. So an actual turn, let's talk about how a turn works. At the beginning, you're going to update the timer, and the timer goes up, and depending on what scenario you're playing, certain things are going to happen throughout the game. So the very first thing you do is update the timer. Second thing that you do is you're going to transfer adrenaline. So if you used adrenaline in the previous round, you're going to pass it over to the Overseer, and he'll get to use that in a minute. The next thing that you do is you're going to assign initiative. And so what that means, the game comes with cards that say 1 through however many commandos you're playing with. And you're actually going to say, okay, I'm going to give you the 1 card, I'll take the 2 card, and we'll give him the 3 card. And that's going to determine when it comes time to actually activate your commandos, that determines who goes when, which is an important factor because as the game plays out, your previously perfect plan could fall completely apart. And but that's how that works. So you decide who's going to go when, and then each person then is going to choose what stance they take. So each one of their players is going to have a stance card, and this determines what they can do. So some of the stance cards have things like you can move faster, but you don't have that much. Your range weapon goes down, or your melee weapon goes down, but you can move quick. Or it might be the opposite, where you might not be able to move very far, but you have long range. So think of it as, your guy's taking, cover, and he's ready to shoot some guy way across the room. And so you get to choose the stance that you're going to take, whether that's sneaking or moving quickly. And that also determines on that round the maximum amount of adrenaline that you can use. So depending on your stance, it changes a whole lot of things. So that's how the commando planning phase works. And then the third thing is where you're actually going to activate the commandos. So then going in the order that you previously decided, each commando takes a turn using adrenaline up to his maximum amount to do something. So that's moving across the room, opening doors, shooting aliens, whatever you're going to do. And you just have to keep in mind that the more you do, the more the Overseer will be able to do. So once you've done everything, all of your commandos have gone in turn, then you're going to pass that over to the Overseer, and then the Overseer will then be able to do his dirty work. But he doesn't use the adrenaline you just used, he used what you did the round before. So it's just kind of, he's always a round behind using adrenaline. So then the Overseer gets to do a few things. So he's going to refresh his dashboard. So the way that this works is every time he uses a particular power, he has to pay the adrenaline into that space. And then the next round, it has a refresh rate. So say this one takes 4 to do, then the next round, he gets to take 2 out of there. And then the next round, he could take 2 more. And then when this dashboard area is empty, then he can use that power again. And so that's kind of how his powers work. So he'll refresh first, then he gets to do everything that he's going to do. He's going to activate his enemies, and then if he ever has more than 10 adrenaline left at the end, he's going to discard it. And that's how the round works. And then you go again, you update the timer, you give him his adrenaline, you plan your turn, and you keep going. So that's kind of how you play level 7 Omega Protocol. So let's talk about what we think about this game. You want to start?
Yeah. So there's a lot of great concepts and game mechanics in here that work out pretty good. One is the adrenaline. The more the commandos do, the more the Overseer gets to do the next turn. So that's great. It's great give and take because then commandos aren't just going all out on everything. they really have to think about what kind of actions they want to do, because every single action they do means there could be more monsters or more cave-ins or all kinds of stuff that could happen. So that's a great give and take there, and really builds into the strategy of the two teams.
Well, I like that. It's a lot like Masters of Madness, so that's definitely a game I know that all three of us gave greens on. I believe at least two of us did. That I would have given a white, but so it very much feels that way. It's in sci-fi, which makes it even better because I don't like the world that Masters of Madness is in.
But yet still horror because of the horrific monsters that come at you.
It's very much like an Aliens type game, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's a so that's all those pretty neat concepts there. Your characters, because you kit them, makes them feel unique to yourself. So that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of my guys had the thing where he could have the robot and he was out there, shooting things and laying the robot out. So that was kind of cool. So I mean, those are some neat things, but what they're trying to do.
I like the kit thing too, because before the game even started, you would choose some powers. And then later on you're thinking, man, why did I choose this one? It's useless. I should have had that other one that I just put to the side and said that was useless, And so I kind of like that aspect of, regret, I guess.
It has the scenarios, which are really neat.
Yeah, it does have a lot of specialization with it. So each character has their own unique part of the group. So, you got one guy that lays waste to, all the bad guys in the room, and another guy that's really good just opening doors or sneaking around or being fast. And so they each can do their own little part.
At the end of our reviews, we like to give you a one die result. What did we think of the game? Did we love it and give it a green? Means go buy it right now. Did we think it was okay, but we'd play it? So maybe we're not going to go buy it, but if you wanted to play, we'd play with you. Or is this a red die? We're not going to play it. We're going to go play something else instead. If we bought it, we're going to sell this game right now. Those are our three: red, white, or green. So let's give you our dice review. Okay, so Tim, tell us.
Well, so I gave it a white die because if it was on the table, I would play it. I would more than likely end up being the overseer because there's a lot more involved with what the overseer has to do, while the commandos get to play as a team. The decisions and whatnot and strategies get to be put in between each other. But so I wouldn't give it a green because not really the components, because the components were good, but because I don't know if it's completely balanced. So the scenario is kind of lopsided one way or the other each time, but the way it actually plays out, in the end, it's going to be one person's going to be upset, or one side's going to be really upset, and the other side's not going to be upset. I don't like those.
That's not a good answer.
It's hard to describe.
Right.
It's not fun playing with people that when you have to make somebody upset to do something, and it's
when it's overpowered. That's when the other.
Yeah, when they feel cheated.
Right.
When it doesn't feel like a fair competition where you won out of fairness and a good competition, but when those other people feel cheated, then and this game gives you that feeling like I'm just got cheated out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I mean, we played a few games, and I just remember about halfway through both of them, I thought we're gonna lose, and it's gonna take forever for him to kill us. Like that's what I kept thinking. Like. Because you got to do so much, and some of the scenarios dictate when you could actually kill somebody. So that's like giving them life support for like 5 more rounds. So if you're doing terrible, which we've done terrible, like it just felt like I just kept looking at the timer, thinking we've got 4 guys on each side, then he gets to go, and we have to do this 5 more times, and I know we're not going to win. I don't know, and I just that's what got to me was that aspect of it. So I'm sorry.
It does drag out because the overseer's main tactic, every single scenario really is to drag it out, because all the good stuff for him when the enemies get really good is later on. So he wants to just drag it out, slow them down, slow the game down, so that it can go longer. And I don't know if I like that part.
All right.
So mine was red also. First of all, price point's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use the term like dungeon crawl, This was a dungeon crawl, not in the good sense. It was a slow going crawl. And Jimmy's exactly right about the fact that you should be able to use multiple, I want to say, we should be able to come multiple plans for the objective, and those could win. But you go fast, go slow, whatever. But this just was way overpowered. Before you knew it, we were having walls fall on top of us every 2 seconds. We couldn't get anywhere. He was powering up real quick. It was just a crawl. And I thought we did really well considering.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we got all the way back, and we could see where we could have won the game, but it was just too much power. It was just too much power. So I felt it was out of balance, and that's where it comes down. So I feel the game's out of balance. I feel some of the pieces on it are inferior, and it's an expensive game.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent 4 hours. I think we put it in 4 hours.
Took forever.
And I won't get those 4 hours back. So I will next time not play this game.
All right. Well, I gave it a red too, and this would be what I would call buyer's remorse for me. Like, I watched some reviews on it, and like we always encourage people to do, go watch some other reviews on these games and see what other people think, because there are some big name guys that review games that loved this game, and so I was like, this is exciting. I want to get everything about it. I wanted to like it. It's space themed. There's aliens. There's commandos. You get to customize it. A modular board with scenarios. I just loved it all, and then we played it, and it just. Man, it was bad. I was so disappointed with the quality of these miniatures when they came out of the box, and I'm turning my stove on to try to fix a board game, like all of that. I don't know. I just, at the end of the game, this would definitely be a red dice for me.
And I have to give it, in fairness, I mean, I've heard that, like you said, there's a lot of people who said they like the game, so that's great. I just couldn't sit down and play this again. I wanted to like it also. I mean, I really wanted to like it.
And like, I actually went on Board Game Geek and I was looking, and I put out a question, what are we doing wrong? What should I do different? People gave me all these scenarios of what we should do different to make the game more fun. And I just kept going back to, I don't want to invest the time to go back and play this game again. I got so many other games that I want to play and get to the table. And for me, I don't know. But like I said, go online and check out some other reviews and watch and figure out what other people say about it, because if you go to CSI or some of these other places and you drop $60 on a game, you really want to make sure that this fits you right. And that's why we do these reviews. So go and check some other ones out and see what you think. So thanks for watching this review from the Board Game Closet. Visit us online at boardgamecloset.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. And as always,
support your local hobby shop.